It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey.
Well, hello, welcome to Patriot Nightcap. Thrilled to have on a U.S. former vet, Air Force, right? Daniel Vargas, okay, in the Air Force, 20 years, a veteran in the Air Force. Daniel is out of Texas, and he is the founder, president of Operation Triage. And Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. I've been looking forward to this.
Great, me too, me too. Thank you for your patience, by the way. Saw you on Real America's Voice with Shemaine Nugent, and I just thought, you know what, this would be a great person to invite onto my show. We are huge patriots over here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Operation Triage and maybe your story with Shemaine, because we're good friends with the Nugents, and I would love to hear your story, and then we can talk about, you know, the sad state of affairs of how vets are really treated in our country, and you know, maybe there's something we can do to help our vets through Operation Triage.
Yeah, well, we started in 2016. So I retired from the Air Force in 2007 because of one of the wounded veterans I met at the hospital. Became very good friends with him. I got involved with the nonprofit arena,
Okay,
and it just fit my personality. Going from, you know, when you're in the military, you have a mission, a purpose, and you're passionate about what you do. You don't join the military to get rich. And so going into the nonprofit world and helping veterans just fit my personality. And so I did that for a while, and I worked at two different nonprofits. And the thing that I kept running into, it started becoming more about egos and paychecks. People eat those in their paychecks instead of really helping the veterans, and focusing on the families. And so 2016, me and my wife now decided, you know, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to do something that, you know, is truly 100% goes to the mission.
right.
We have no paid employees. I'm retired from the Air Force, and I live off my Air Force and disability. My wife is a nurse. She did 12 years in the Army. And so we have 6 full-time employees, and 100% of everything we raise goes straight to the programs. I drive my own truck, pay for my own gas. I'm working out of my house in my office. And what we're trying to do is just help those that need a hand up, not a handout, but a hand up, and you know, get their life back in order. And the ones we're dealing with the most right now is the elderly veterans, because they're at the point in their lives that a lot of them are on fixed incomes, and they have to make hard decisions. Do I feed myself and my wife and buy our medication that we need, or do I fix my home, or do I have emergency financial aid to help us out with certain things, home repairs, home remodels, especially with the heat in Texas, bills, electrical bills.
And it's bad right now. The heat
Really bad.
Really bad. I know. I'm sitting out in Arizona, and wow, woo.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of AC repairs, especially here in the San Antonio, Texas area where we're at. There's a huge retirement community here of veterans, so we do a lot of work here in the Central Texas area.
Okay. So it's devastating to me. I was just watching recently. I lived in New York for a good 20 years, and I'm watching, you know, the open borders and the immigration that's flooding in, and they're literally transforming, you know, nice hotels and drama centers into shelters and havens for the immigrants. And I'm thinking, but what about our vets? You know, we don't. So home of the brave, you know, land of the free, home of the brave. But okay, so why aren't we taking care of them? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's so funny you brought that up. When a couple months ago, they were actually kicking homeless veterans out of those hotels and replacing them with immigrants, because the government was paying more for immigrants to be housed than they were for the veterans. So the hotel owners were kicking the homeless veterans out and putting the immigrants in.
This is a travesty.
That's the kind of stuff that goes on. It's just, you know, listen, join the military. I do it all over again. I have no regrets, but you need to be honest with yourself and what you're going to go in for. When I joined the military, I didn't join right away because of patriotism. I joined because I was
Mhm.
trying to be a police officer in Houston. The academy shut down because the oil glut hit in '86, and my recruiter for the police department said, "Go to the military, get some experience." Loved the military. I stayed in 20 years. No
Okay.
regret. What I don't like is, and what happens is, once you're done, you're just like a piece of equipment. You're
Right.
not a person. You are a piece of equipment. And the transition from active duty to the VA is horrendous. It still is. They can say whatever they want. It's still not an easy transfer. And once you're in the VA system, you have to be willing to fight for every benefit that you get. They don't come to your door and knock on your door and say, "Hey, you're eligible for these benefits." You have to go seek them out and fight for them and find them.
Mhm.
And a perfect example is the recent PACT Act they just passed last January.
Mhm.
So the PACT Act, the government and the VA makes it sound like, oh, we passed this new law and we're giving you benefits. No, it was forced upon them by a nonprofit
Mhm.
that lobbied Congress and got a lot of people involved to get these new laws passed to get benefits to veterans that weren't receiving them. One of the groups is Vietnam veterans. So Vietnam veterans that were in Thailand, uh, Guam, on ships and certain planes, even though they were exposed to Agent Orange, was not covered by the Agent Orange laws because they weren't boots in the ground in Vietnam.
Mm.
50 years after the war ended, 50 years after the war ended this March, they're finally getting, those veterans can apply for benefits and get them.
Jeez.
But once again, we're dealing with the same VA that dealt with young soldiers when they were injured and hurt after Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. There's a backlog now again, another backlog, and it's taken forever for these veterans, for the elderly veterans now. The Vietnam veterans are starting to be our oldest veterans that are alive, because unfortunately the World War II and the Korean War veterans are passing away, that they're having to fight for their benefits. But the
That's so
majority, well, the problem with the VA too, they're trying to go, everybody's trying to go tech, and everything's on computer. You have to you have to email it in, or
sad.
you have to put it on computer. Where a lot of these older veterans don't have computers or don't deal with that.
Oh, Daniel, I mean, I have elderly parents, and even getting them to the doctor, making the appointment, like, it is a big deal and it is not easy. So my heart really does go out to our elderly. So to have, and that's the thing, like, they can't even figure out, they're not an emailing, they're not in that, they
No.
don't have the mindset or the skills to even do these things.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so tell us the stories of what you do and how you help them, because I know Shemaine, when she met you, there was a very specific story that she
yeah, how I met them was, Ted was playing a show at Billy Bob's, and I contacted them and said, "Hey, I'd love to bring some wounded troops out of the hospital to come."
Oh, okay.
And so we went there, took them there, and we started talking. And from that meeting, Ted and Shemaine came to the hospital to visit down here. I was still active duty at the time, and we took them on a tour of the military hospital here, which has one of the number one burn wards in the United States, and
Mhm.
then an A ward. And Ted went to every floor and visited patients. I mean, he was there for hours. Him, Shemaine, and
Wow.
Rock.
Wow.
And Tremaine found out that for the burn patients, there was not. You're in San Antonio, Texas, one of the hottest places in the
Yeah.
world.
Right.
They had no outdoor pavilion or cover for the burn patients to go sit out in the outdoors, smoke a cigarette, or have a nice tea or something outside. So Ted and Shemaine raised the money and built an outdoor pavilion for them at the hospital.
It's amazing.
And our relationship just snowballed from there. They've helped me numerous times with raising money, raising awareness,
Yeah.
doing their show, doing things with Ted to bring awareness to the veterans issues and what's going on. Because unfortunately, it's 7% that have served in the military. If you look at all the wars, and the rest of the United States, unless a 9/11 happens or things like that, are disconnected from what actually goes on with the military.
Mhm.
And what's even worse is when they see veterans coming back, they're like, "Oh, the government takes care of that, or the government handles everything." No, that's
No.
when the real war starts for veterans, is having to deal with the VA and having to deal with the bureaucracy to get their benefits. You
Wow.
know, perfect example. Um, I had a veteran, a Vietnam veteran that was brought to us by a friend of theirs, a next door neighbor. The home they were living in a mobile home. It should have been condemned.
Hmm.
I mean, they had to put plywood down for not to fall through the floor. He just had a stroke. And so his neighbor wanted just to fix the roof. So we went out there and did an inspection. And after getting to know the veterans, the Stout family, I found out that he was a Vietnam veteran, blown up in Vietnam in a deuce and a half, received a Purple Heart, severe PTSD. The
Oh,
VA kept denying him for benefits,
oh no.
total denial for benefits. And reviewing his record, we found out that the VA never even sent him to get evaluated. So we got involved with the Texas Veterans Commission, which Texas really has a really good, Texas, the state itself created a Veterans Commission where they help veterans fight for their benefits. It's state run. So they're actually a good organization. We applied for his benefits, and within 5 months, he went from getting nothing and actually getting food from a food bank to being rated at 100%. We were able to get him a new home, new mobile home, and move them in.
Wonderful.
But it's things like that. I mean, he's been home for over 50 years from the war and never got
Right.
anything. The government's not helping him.
Wow. Wow. I just don't understand that. Do you only work specifically in Texas, or do you jump around?
Right now, we're in Texas and Missouri is our main focuses. We have a satellite office in Missouri. My best friend lives up there, and they volunteer their time and they run an office there. I'm here. We've done some things out of state, like emergency financial aid for funerals and things like that for veterans. But right now, I'm so overwhelmed with just the Texas population. I mean, I'm working about 40, 50 hours a week easy, and plus weekends.
My goodness. My gosh. And this is a nonprofit. You have 6 people who help you. 6 people? That's it? Who
Yeah.
help you out?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And they're not getting paid. Oh gosh. Okay. So we have a patriotic community over here, and I'm sure in some way, if I post some of your links, like how can we participate? I have, so many people over here that, we're trying to get away from the big box stores. We're trying to not fund the corporate criminals. We want to redirect our money and help the people who need help, that we believe in, and the people that we want to support. So if Operation Triage can become a part of that under this umbrella, I think that would be magnificent. So if I post your links, like what are some things that we can do?
We really need a lot of help financially.
Yeah.
And what I want to tell people, $1 to us, 100% of that dollar goes to these veterans and first responders. We also help first responders who've been injured in line of duty. 100% goes out. We don't pay for any celebrity endorsements. We have no paychecks.
Yeah.
We are doing this because we especially me, I love my brothers and sisters in arms. All of us have some kind of tie. Matt and his wife Karen, her dad was in the Marine Corps. Her brother was in the Marine Corps. Matt married into that family. My wife is former Army. We all have some kind of tie, and she's a nurse and she's a first responder.
Yeah.
So we have that tie to this community that we believe that they get forgotten about, or they get they only focus on the one, that little percent that did something wrong instead of the whole group that takes care of us and protects us.
Right.
It provides the freedom we sleep under every night.
That's right. Right.
So, every dollar helps. Even if you $5, $10, whatever you can send in, it doesn't have to be $1,000, $1 million. It all adds up that we can actually change a life. The biggest thing we're doing right now in Texas is doing a lot of, especially for the elderly veterans, replacing ACs. We've had 100-degree weather for like 50 days straight, and ACs are going out. So we're replacing, AC units left and right down here. We're doing a lot of home repairs, plumbing repairs, home remodels. We just finished. We're moving a family back into their home tomorrow. As an Air Force veteran, this 30 years. He was an active duty and guard, but the foundation slipped, broke the gas line. They had to move out. They've been out of their home since June. We raised the money. We fixed the foundation. We're putting in a new hot water heater. We repaired the home, and they're finally getting to go back home tomorrow. If we wouldn't have stepped in, and that's the thing, the VA doesn't cover things like that. They don't cover home repairs and things like that for veterans. There's no programs out there. So if we don't step in, this family would be homeless. Even though they own a home, they're homeless. They can go back to it.
it's so hard for me to wrap my head around. It's like you fight for this country. They've shed blood for this country, and they don't have access to like an AC unit or help for these, the basic living, higher living standards. Like my dad served in the Navy, but then he came home and he switched careers and he's done well. But I'll tell you what, especially right now in Texas, we had the AC unit break. The refrigerated air went out for a night, and it was horrible, and we had to get somebody in there. So the poor elderly, and here they have served this country, we got to take care of them. It's our duty, it's our responsibility to take care of them. So I just don't understand. We have open borders, and people are getting kicked out of hotels, and nice drama schools are being converted into shelters, and yet our vets are, especially the elderly vets, are suffering like this. It makes no sense. We really are, our values are messed up.
Well, you can go speak to a veteran group, and you'll hear this motto. The motto for us, for the VA, is deny until they die. They'll deny you until they die.
Wow.
Why did it take 50 years after Vietnam ended to actually not acknowledge Agent Orange in Thailand? They used it on the bases in Thailand. They used it in Guam. They put it on ships and airplanes. And people handled it, actually touched it and handled it, that it took 50 years to finally acknowledge, oh, yeah, they were affected too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm curious, have you seen, you may not have seen this show, but it really blew me away and really made me start questioning more than I already questioned. But did you see it's called The Last Narc Netflix series? Sorry, it's on Prime Video, about Kiki Camarena. Did you have that? What did you find that so disturbing?
Yeah.
The ending there with it was like a CIA agent involved, and they kind of set up the drug dealers. I mean, it was like, what is happening in our government? I don't know. Maybe this isn't something we should really talk about, but I would encourage everybody to watch The Last Narc on Prime Video.
I encourage you to go educate yourself and learn what's really going on. Go to an American Legion, go to a VFW, sit down, have a beer with a group of veterans and talk to them. Ask them, what are the things that you've had to face since you've gotten home?
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but we fought in World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Did you know the U.S. government didn't acknowledge PTSD as an issue or a disease or as a stress factor until 1980?
Wow, really? 1980?
1980, did they admit that PTSD was an issue and actually you could claim benefits for it and actually get help for it?
Well, it always comes down to money. Nobody wants to pay for anything. That's what it is,
But that's the thing, is if you're going to ask these young men and women to continue to serve and go fight for us on foreign lands, you need to take them home.
That's right. That's absolutely right. That's first and foremost. That's absolutely right.
Well, you made a promise. It's a promise that you made. You asked them to write a blank check to you. Now fulfill your promises.
I have a few more people who I'd like to introduce you to, Daniel, who would love to have you on their show, and if there's anything that we can do over here, I'll post this everywhere, and, I'll have your links. And like I said, there's so many people who say, oh, I don't know, what can I do? And it's like, well, if you don't know what you can do, then support the people who are out there doing something, and I think yours is the perfect cause. Helping elderly vets who just want to have their AC fixed, or maybe help on their roof or their mortgage. I don't know, anything with housing, right?
Oh, we do anything with housing and like I said, some financial aid too. And I'd love to speak to anybody and spread the word, because I think we have to educate the American public who hasn't served and really don't have a lot of ties with the veterans or the military, to understand that, what you see on TV, like when they're coming home and they're being taken to the hospital, the government's going to take care of them. That's when the war really starts. That's when.
That's when the war really starts. Deny until you die, huh? Oh, this is sad. Okay, well, this made me sad. But there are good, loving people out there. And when I heard Shemaine's story and what Ted Nugent did, I thought, wow, this is great. We the people can help, and we can do something to help our vets, right?
Well, we've been very fortunate with great patriots down here, great companies like John Wayne Service Company, Service Company, Allen Wrench Homes and Renovations, that they get what we're doing and they donate like a lot of material. It's hard to pay, ask people to donate their labor, but they work with us and give us a lot of stuff for free, and or go do things for free when they can to help these families. They get what's going on, and they bleed red, white, and blue. So
Yeah.
they're up to the plate. And that's the thing, is if you own a company and you can do it, if you don't want to do the funding donation, if you could do some service or some work. Sometimes we have volunteers days. We did a cleanup at a veterans home here and did a volunteer day, because things just got, they're at the age in their disability, they can't get rid of stuff. It piles up and it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
So we went up and did some home repairs as a group and did some cleaning up for them. There's a lot of things we could do together, and we can do in your community. We'll travel and help you get started.
Oh, that's really good to know. Okay. So anywhere in Texas?
Yeah, I'll travel to Arizona. I'll travel to anybody that wants to start something and get started. It's not hard to do. You just have to be passionate about what you want to do and get it done. If we all did a little bit in our communities, we can make our country great again.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be, I think a lot of people get overwhelmed saying, well, he's doing stuff in Texas, I can't do that. Well, start there. Find a neighbor. You might have a neighbor that's, 82 years old and he has no family and he's a veteran. Take him a meal.
That's right.
Blanket. See what's going on with him. See what he needs help with. Adopt him.
That's right.
We need to be the country again where we take care of each other again. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the things that bothers me as a service member, because I came in the 80s. I came in when the Cold War was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I lived through the Cold War. I was in the first Gulf War. China and Russia are laughing at us. They're laughing at us, and they're watching what we're doing to ourselves, tearing each other apart.
Oh, I'm sure.
We need to figure out how to bury the hatchet and communicate with each other, and don't let the crazies run us, because Russia and China are biting at the bit to come after us. Mark my words.
Mm-hmm.
Mark my words. The
infighting is very bad. Yes, it is. The divisiveness.
Yeah, we need to find a way to agree to disagree, and be careful who our real enemies are, because our real enemies are outside our borders.
Mm-hmm.
They're dying to see us fail.
Yes.
Chinese doctrine. Go research Chinese doctrine. Chinese doctrine is for them to control the world economically first, and then by military force.
Thank you for those words of wisdom, and I agree with you. Sadly, that is the truth. But you're right. Everybody can do something, and just imagine if everybody took that time to bring a meal or do something, or have a little bit of, or run a podcast where you talk about this and spread the word. Say, hey, help this guy out. They need help. If everybody would just take that time and be a little kinder to one another, imagine the world that that we can create together. We still have that power and that ability, and to take care of one another. You're absolutely right.
We're the most giving country in the world.
Yes, we are.
Whenever the natural disaster anywhere in the world, we're the first to give. So
but that's the tragedy, at the same time, we're sending all this money to the Ukraine, and it's like, wait a minute, what about our elderly vets? We can't even take care of our own people.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that.
So let's take care of each other. And Daniel, thank you for what you do, really, because it's got to be very time consuming. I'm sure you see a lot of sad stories, but you must also love doing that when like, oh, I probably saved a life tonight with that air conditioner.
Well, tomorrow's going to be that. Tomorrow's the payoff of dealing with frustration. You get to see, an 80-year-old veteran and his wife. And I'll send you some video. I'll send you some photos. They're going back to their house tomorrow. Their little house. He earned it. He paid for it. And they get to go back home to relieve that stress off an 80-year-old, veteran.
Is amazing.
Yeah, it's everything. It's everything.
Daniel, will you send me some footage and I'll tag it on our little show, and then whatever, other pictures that you want to send, and then my audience can take a look at it. And then I'm going to connect you to a few people, and more people will know about Operation Triage. And thank you for coming on. I'm glad I finally got to meet you.
Thank you. Great meeting you. Good luck with your dad. I understand, that's a lot to deal with. I went through that with my parents.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, what have they not done for their children? Do you know what I mean? We're there. We're right there for him and my mom. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
God bless y'all. Thank y'all for everything.
God bless you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.